Rise up in the face of conflict. Hi, I'm Anne-Margaret with this week's Sacred Sunday message to raise the vibration of your body, mind, and spirit. So happy Easter Sunday, everybody. For everybody who's celebrating today, it's a beautiful day here in Colorado. And as you see, I am not in my usual surroundings. I'm in my parents' backyard to spend the day with them today and celebrate this gorgeous day. I think it's going to be 80 degrees here, so nice and warm. But let's talk about when things get chilly in relationships, because conflicts are completely normal in any relationship. They're normal in any relationship, and one of the biggest mistakes that we can make is thinking that conflict shouldn't be, or that when things come up where people have problems with us or how we're doing things, or something that's coming up that's causing some friction in some way, that it's negativity and just should be avoided and ignored, right? These are things that we need to go into with one another to deepen the intimacy. But not if we're not really interested in that. If we want more superficial relationships, then we avoid it like the plague, right? But we know that true fulfillment and the juiciness of this life come from deep, deep connection with others, with God, with ourselves, with our purpose. And so anything that we face, any conflict or adversity, anything like this that comes our way, we are the ones who can figure out what to do with that and how to play that next card. And all of that determines our overall well-being and happiness. So thanks for joining me today. So when we're faced with conflict, most people just want to avoid it, right? We want to get out of uncomfortable situations. We want to avoid pain and run towards pleasure. We want to, if anything comes up that's unpleasant, we just want to avoid it and move on with our lives. We are seeing this so often with people who are disagreeing with each other online. We're seeing this in families, in our country, in the world, how we are discordant with one another and we're not able to find common ground. We dig our heels even more so into the way that we see things, and we forget that there's a whole nother human being standing before us with completely different experiences, completely different perspectives, and really valid feelings or emotions about whatever's happening. And we're never all going to get on the same page. We know that, right? We're never going to all be the same person with the same thoughts, the same faith, the same God, the same opinions, the same political affiliation, right? We're never going to be on that page together. So what can we do? And then what can we do in the face of betrayal, when we feel like someone is really cutting us off or has been unfaithful or dishonest or disloyal? What do we do in the face of that? That's really tough, because an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, right? So anytime that we meet conflict with the same energy that it originated in, Einstein said it can't be solved, it can't be resolved in that same kind of energy. So if we're truly committed to resolution, we need to step beyond what the upset is and dig into the mess, get in the mess with that person who's pained us, who's wronged us, or who we just don't understand. And we know that the only way out is through. So I hope this is going to give you a little bit of courage to kind of dig and really have the courage to face those more confrontational or unpleasant aspects of your life, because we know if we're just avoiding things, we're going to be in a very isolated, lonely existence and a very superficial engagement with the people in our lives. So let's talk about something. I mean, it is Easter Sunday. It's a perfect day to talk about those last moments of Jesus's life, okay? And you think about betrayal. Betrayal is in all of the incredible mythologies. It's in all the incredible stories of love and loss. It's Shakespeare and Greek are my favorites, right? So it's in all the stories. And in that passion story of Jesus, when Jesus was facing his death, what happened at the Last Supper? He gathered all his apostles, right, around him, fed them, prayed with them, washed their feet, and he knew that Judas was going to betray him. He even told him, hey, this is going to happen. Peter's going to deny me. Judas is going to betray me. And we can look at this incredible, incredible example, this spiritual master, this beautiful, beautiful example for us as a way to emulate this behavior. Even when we know somebody has wronged us, how are we able to continue to be loving, to channel peace, to not lose our character just because of what they've said or what they've done, or the icy treatment, maybe it's been a silent treatment that they've been giving you for a year. People do it, right? Or they've cut you out of their life altogether. How do we keep the purity and the innocence of our heart, our connection to God? How do we channel that loving, peaceful interconnectivity with our relationships and with ourselves? That's so important, because who are we left with at the end of the day with our head on our pillow? Not even our partner next to us, right? It's us. Are we able to live with ourselves? Are we able to feel like we can go to sleep at night and feel like we've tried everything? Ooh, there's some beautiful birds joining us today for our talk. It's Easter Sunday. All right, so let's go in a little bit deeper. So when you realize that somebody, like for this example of Judas and Jesus, when you realize like that one of the closest people to you, and maybe this is a lifelong relationship, maybe it's a few years, maybe it's even just a really few months that you've known that person, but you've grown very close, and then they betray you in some way. So let's look at the kind of betrayals there are. Like, there's being dishonest, like it's lying, obviously just downright lying, or even stretching the truth. I know that becomes a very easy thing to do, exaggeration, to justify how we're being or how we've behaved. So the lying is tough, And then there's the other side of the lie, which is just avoidance. In that betrayal of dishonesty, like not being honest with that person. When you're giving a silent treatment, you're also disloyaling. You're being disloyal to that person, not able to actually engage with them. And fair enough. Sometimes you need some space to process your feelings, your emotions, until you're able to kind of take a deep breath and ground yourself and think, okay, how do I want to handle this? That's different than a long-term silent treatment, right? Very, very different. So are we being disloyal to that person, or are they being disloyal to us by not being upfront and honest about their upset, whatever's going on with them, right? And then also, if you think about people who just kind of discard, like this whole crazy cancel culture, like discarding people or discarding authors or celebrities or advocates in some way because they haven't done things exactly the way that we would have preferred, or in the right way, or in a socially acceptable way. I'm getting distracted because there's two squirrels chasing each other over there. It's in everywhere, right? We do it everywhere. But like with this discarding, like these are people. These are human beings with real feelings. These are people who struggle in very different circumstances, but very similar ways as you and I. So how do we find compassion in our hearts when we're dealing with this kind of thing? So we've got dishonesty, we've got disloyalty, we've got also, what about dishonoring? Like really dishonoring, like not even giving that person the benefit of the doubt, losing faith in them, not even remembering who they are, who they've been, gossiping about them, spreading false lies, right? Falsities about their character, talking about them with other people in a disempowering way. These are all different ways that we can be betraying other people, or they can be betraying us. And then I can't talk about the different kinds of betrayals without talking about the unintentional betrayals, guys, right? This happens a lot where we don't even know that we've hurt somebody, and then we get the silent treatment, and then we're like, what happened? And they won't talk to us, they won't have a deep conversation. We thought we were giving feedback, they took it as a huge personal attack, and then completely backed away. And they're more unintentional betrayals. Or maybe somebody's done that to you and you're very upset and you don't know what to do with it, and you think, well, they should know better. They should have known that was inappropriate, or that should. Okay, well, then you're shoulding all over the situation, shoulding, right? And it's not helping. So if our commitment is to our ego, to be right, to prove that the other person's wrong, to hold dominance over someone or something, or feel like we are the superior one, then we're going to serve our ego, and we're not going to serve the resolution. We're not going to serve our heart. We're not going to come from the soul's desire to connect, to resolve this. Because it takes something, right? When somebody has really hurt you, how can you be with that pain? How can you be with that pain? And sometimes it's they're revealing something about themselves that you didn't realize was the case either. That can be hard too. So in the face of this betrayal, how do we stay in our heart? How do we stay compassionate? Because we never know what it's like to be in each other's shoes, right? So are we committed to true intimacy? Are we committed to our ego? Are we committed to, there's a little bird on the feeder behind me. Are we committed to our ego, or are we committed to our true, deeper intimacy? Or are we going to resolve ourselves for just a superficiality in our relationships? That's really so important to remember. What is our commitment? What's our commitment? And we have to realize that our commitment, if we are coming from love, it's not about manipulating the other person until there's a resolution. That's a really easy place to get stuck to, right? It's not about manipulating the situation or forcing an outcome with that person because, hey, it takes two to tango, right? So if that person is just not interested, you can let them go. You can release them with love. Not, oh, they didn't care about me enough to have a conversation. Oh, they're a horrible person. Oh, wow, they're this and that and this, and I should have never. We don't have to come from a place of defensiveness or the need to destroy or blow up the relationship. Instead, we can come from our heart, love them from afar, let them go, and then know if they ever open that door again that we'll be there. We'll be right there, waiting to embrace them, waiting to love them. We're not holding grudges, we're not holding resentment, because we know when we do that, our heart hardens, our heart constricts, and we wonder why we have such heart disease in the world today, right? Number one killer. So we have to look at what we're committed to. Are we committed to deepening the intimacy, or are we committed to just a comfort zone of superficiality and dismissing this person because they wronged us or criticized us, okay? And then, how do we resolve this? So how do we constructively resolve it? The unfortunate part of this, but it is essential, is that we need to get things on the table. We need to say, hey, this is how it occurred for me. This is what I meant. Oh no, that's not what I intended. Okay? Have that kind of dialogue. And then both parties, it's very important for both parties to come to the table and say, well, this is what my experience was. But we come from the place of not, this is the truth, this is my truth, this is your truth. There is not one superior truth. We're not playing God here. They're not playing God here. We're coming to the table with our very human perspectives, with our very human projections and our experiences, where we come to the table and we make a lot of things mean things that are just not true. So we come and say, you know what, when you said that, this is what I interpret it as, and then allow the person to clean it up. Allow the person to say, you know what, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I really meant this, and then we have to be willing to accept that apology, and maybe willingness to be wrong about how we interpreted it. And that takes compassion for ourselves. That takes vulnerability and softness in our hearts. But in the end, if we're able to do this, our relationships deepen, because remember, the very first point I made today for our talk is that conflicts are natural in relationships. It's how we grow together. If we're just playing like everything's fine and not talking about anything and avoiding the conflict, or thinking, oh, that's just negative, so I'm not going to go there. Oh, no. That darkness, that shadow aspect of our relationship must not be ignored, or it takes over, or it rises up in a way that demolishes and dissolves that trust between one another. We need that. We need that trust, and we need that raw authenticity for our seeds of our relationship to really take root, to grow strong, to get those roots wide and deep, so that we can weather the storms when they come our way. All right, you guys. So remember that beautiful example of Jesus even washing the feet of his known betrayer, the guy who would send him to his death with a kiss on the cheek. Can we be that? Can we ask that energy? Can we ask that archetype, that beautiful teaching, to come within us, so that we can truly be compassionate in the face of the betrayals in our life? Our betrayals, our unknown betrayals, others betraying us, and even their unknown betrayals. Can we do that? All right, guys, thanks so much for joining. Remember, have compassion, love, and remember, rising up means rising up with that frequency of your vibration, so you can hold the space of love, of compassion for yourself and for others. All right. Happy Easter. Thanks so much for joining me. Love to all of you. All right. And until next time, of course, keep raising the vibration. Bye, everybody.